So good morning, and let's see if we are live everywhere. We're kind of live everywhere. We're still connecting on some. All right. All right. So good morning, and I'm Prakash Adapai, and I'm going to be doing a kind of morning rundown of like what's been happening in AI. I thought I'd do a news sweep every single morning on what's been going on. So I thought I'd just share that and also burn up like my first hour of the morning. Maybe let's kick off with so Sam Altman had a um, had a chat with Vinod Khosla about yesterday, I guess, about a day ago. Don't know where they were. They were at some event, some VC event, and it has Sam's kind of mid journey update on where we are right now. I'm gonna try and see if I can share this. Um, all right, window. There we go. All right, so let's see. Uh, so Sam is, he's talking to builders. He's saying that the models will get better. I think the jury is still kind of like, out on that, especially I think in the last few months. I think the last couple of months post GPT-5, GPT-5 was not seen as particularly, much better than the other, models that OpenAI has put out over time. I think some of that is that um, the entire sphere is now kind of expecting magic when I think magic doesn't exist. So, but he still thinks that everything will get 10x better every single year. So let's see. Let's see about that. Um, this next clip has AI's deflationary impact. Uh, we've talked about this before about AI abundance. Is it going to be deflationary, inflationary? He thinks it's going to be wildly deflationary. In a deflationary, regime, you kind of want to hold debt because debt does not deflate, and debt, someone owing you something, increases in value as everything gets cheaper. I do wonder, there are a lot of political and legal changes that need to happen for deflation to happen. For example, doctors and lawyers kind of have a kind of statutory position in our society where you have to go through them for certain things, and replacing them will involve ceding those responsibilities to AI, which I think no one is quite ready to do yet. So when does this happen? What's the sequence of things happening? I don't know. I could also see a future in which those professions hang on to their roles just as interpreters and translators for the bulk of humanity, and a small fraction is able to deal with super intelligent AI directly, able to understand it in every single vertical of human endeavor, and everyone else is kind of stuck using them as interpreters. So I don't know. Let's see how that works out. Let's see. This is the future of software. This next one. No, sorry. Percent t equals 2 minutes and 46 seconds. He thinks software is going to be just in time. Let's see. Let's see what is. And so Sam is finally, he's pointing out creative destruction. I have felt for some time that most of our existing enterprises will not be able to keep up. This is a Duolingo. So you can see Duolingo. When ChatGPT first comes out, no reaction. Sometime around last year, they start cranking and they start using AI for engagement. They see a spike up, and then in the last few months, I would say in the last uh, 3 months, 4 months really, it's just been bleeding about 3% per day, just bleeding out slowly every single day. And yesterday, of course, Apple introduced the new Apple AirPods with instant translation. And Duolingo is just taking a beating right now. You know, and yeah, Duolingo has never been about learning languages. It's always been about gamifying, having a gamified experience that having a game that you can play guilt free. I wish those games existed for math, you know, but a lot of people play Duolingo like it's a game, and they look to be, they look to have streaks of logging in, and they want to be the best, in that language, etc. Um, but is it really a language learning app? Are you really going to learn? Are you really going to need to learn that many languages? Increasingly, it seems like no. And so I think Duolingo will be a casualty. One wonders how many other casualties there are. You cannot imagine, as you've seen with SpaceX versus traditional launch. Once there is a company with technology which is 10 times or 100 times better than existing, it's very hard for the existing companies to catch up. It's a completely new paradigm. And SpaceX still does not have a launch competitor for reusable rockets. And I think many companies in the AI era, new startups will be created that have superpowers, which the traditional companies are completely unable to keep up with. So anyway, that's my take. Let me switch off here, and it's all right. Um, let's see what else happened this week or yesterday actually. I'm going to do a quick scroll through of research. Quantum Magazine. All right, Dr. Singularity. All right. Let's take a look at some research. All right, let me share the screen actually. Uh, all right, there we go. All right, good. All right. So I usually do a run of research every day, just to see what's out there. As you can see, some people are much more active on Twitter, and I really appreciate some of these guys because I cannot keep up with everything in the field. And so I really depend on people like Aran and Akalik and these guys to filter and what's out. It's also really annoying, but on Twitter, Twitter just like does not actually connect you to stuff that you want to see. So these guys are no longer on my For You feed, even though I follow them. I don't know why. Um, and so I have to live with, TweetDeck, which is also an imperfect tool, by the way. What's going on in China? All right. I follow a bunch of Robert Scoville's lists. It's useful. He's done a great job. So these are all like Scoville's lists. Um, and it's also really hard to differentiate what is real research and what is just absolute, nonsense. Um, there is a lot of like stuff there which uh, basically doesn't make sense, and is not worth your time. But you have to live with it anyway, and you have to figure out what is important and what is not important. People in AI and ML also use a lot of like jargon. A lot of the jargon has like lore or historical value on where who invented them, and how they work. But a lot of it is also, I find, often unnecessary if you just want to know what the applications are. Um, So a lot of what I do is actually to take a look at stuff and remember the first time that it was, shown, and not talk about it until the second time it pops up, because I usually look for multiple confirmations that something is true, because otherwise it's a waste of time. I also definitely look for pedigree. So one of the larger companies, ByteDance or Google, I will take a look. A lot of the companies do not publish their best research. Things have gotten very competitive in the AI space. People don't want anyone to know what they're actually working on, what's actually useful, and that's one of the challenges, I think, in the space. The neural image editing paper. That's going to be a good one. So, all right, AI community, long emotion. All right, this should be a good one. Community sessions. Some companies are doing really well. Some companies, like Vercel, for example, and Superbase, are perfect for vibe coding. They have well-documented APIs, and they've regularized a bunch of stuff that was in React and in Postgres, in SQL, and making those things which were kind of in open source, kind of spread out all over the place, and you wouldn't know, what was going on with them and what was the right library to use. For example, when I used to do, test cases for Postgres, there was no proper Postgres test suite or test library. You had this dinky little library that no one was using, and it was a plugin into Postgres, and it would you would not really know whether it's going to work properly or not. A lot of people didn't have tests for database migrations. Just a horrible sequence of affairs. But I imagine the bigger companies had this stuff internally. They built their own stack, a lot of them, over time. But in the open source space, it was very annoying until Superbase came along and kind of like, all right, we're going to use this test suite, and we're going to allow you to like branch your database migrations, and they did a bunch of stuff which was absolutely necessary, and which is very, very annoying to deal with prior to that. All right. I am definitely partial towards pictures and video. So, um, the whole thing about if you add a video or a photo, you're much more likely to be clicked on. It's absolutely true. I often do not do a wall of text on Twitter. It will absolutely kill you. AI film. All right, AI film. All right, let's look at some AI films at the end of this thing. All right, that should be good. All right, let's look at this. Dr. Singularity. Here's the current state of AI generated pictures. This one was made with the Dream 4.0 model. It looks real. It looks pretty real. It could be more real. It could be more high res, but it's not bad. Dream 4.0. I'm guessing there's a Chinese model. Anything which I don't remember, I'm going to think is a Chinese model, basically. It's hard to keep them apart. A lot of the companies are very competitive, but they don't have a lot of like presence on the web. They're very bad at marketing. Major step towards rejuvenation and longevity. Chubby Kimonsius Kimonismus is he's based in Germany. Chinese researchers have presented an anti-aging therapy using genetically modified stem cells in cell, which was tested in a 44-week trial on macaques. Systemic rejuvenation across 10 organ systems, from brain to the bones. Cognition, fertility, and tissue regeneration improve measurably. That's great. I it's actually a great thing that China is doing well in biotech because I think the US is gated right now on regulation, and it's actually good that someone else takes the lead, creates the therapies, and kind of sells them to the US because the US is not willing to deregulate enough in order to do vast amounts of research cheaply. Um, Rohan Paul, the paper teaches. This paper is from ByteDance Seed, reverse engineered reasoning for open-ended generation. Mm, Deep reasoning paradigm has spurred significant advances in verifiable domains like mathematics. Its applications to open-ended creative generation remains a critical challenge. The two dominant methods for instilling reasoning, reinforcement learning, and instruction distillation, falter in this area. Reinforcement learning struggles with the absence of clear reward signals and high quality reward models, while distillation is prohibitively expensive and capped to the teacher model's capabilities. To overcome these limitations, we introduce reverse engineered reasoning, REER, a new paradigm that fundamentally shifts the approach. Instead of building a reasoning process forwards through trial and error or imitation, RER works backwards from known good solutions to computationally discover the latest step-by-step deep reasoning process that could have produced them. Using the scalable gradient-free approach, we curate an open-source deep writing 20K, a large-scale dataset of 20,000 deep reasoning trajectories for open-ended tasks. Our model DeepWriter 8B, trained on this data, not only surpasses strong open-source baselines, but also achieves performance competitive and at times superior to leading proprietary models like GPT-4o and Claude 3.5. This is great. They start off at the endpoint, at the result. They reverse engineer what the chain of thought, the ideal chain of thought would have looked like. This avoids kind of like randomness in getting to, um, the end solution through maybe a less perfect chain of thought. So potentially it has better solutions. That's great. I do wonder to what extent stuff that is published by the Chinese labs has already been found by the US labs, but not been operationalized at all, or not been exposed to the world at large. Not operationalized so much as like, they haven't really talked about it so much. I do wonder. Uh, all right, let's look at the next piece of research. Jikizin. All right. RL Factory. Where was that paper? Staying Sweet. Molar Rag. Let's look at Doomslide. One of the most crucial skills in research is dealing with a contradiction, backtracking and questioning everything until a core verified truth remains, then building back gradually to find out which branch is correct. LLMs are exceptionally bad at this. The interesting thing is this is exactly what the ByteDance Seed guys did with reverse engineered reasoning. So that's pretty funny. All right. Rabbit, if you do not remember, Rabbit is the company that had the kind of first AI device, I guess. Um, let's see what they're up to. I've turned on sound, but there is no sound here. I do not know why. Playing picture in picture. All right, let's take a look. Oh, there we go. Okay, the guy's playing chess on a Rabbit R1 or R2. It's fast, much faster than before. At least they got rid of the sluggishness. The sluggishness was annoying. They came out early with a physical device that gives them more time to, um, debug it, kind of figure out where the issues are going to be. One of the problems that they're going to face is that we are obviously moving towards an AI device eventually. I think Apple has the AirPods now with the translation. Apple's doing it very slowly. I think R2, and Apple's incentive is to watch everyone else do the research for user experience and then come in with the best user experience and a distribution to the wealthiest people in the world. So, ah, neural image editing. So this is a good one. So these guys basically manage to edit images just by scanning your brains. So they call it Lung X, which is also a funny name. Lung is in Chinese means dragon, so it's Dragon X for hands-free image editing via multimodal neural signals. Traditional image editing typically relies on manual prompting, making it labor-intensive and inaccessible to individuals with limited motor control or language abilities. Leveraging recent advances in brain-computer interfaces and generative models, we propose Lung X, a hands-free image editing approach driven by multimodal neurophysiological signals. Lung X utilizes state-of-the-art diffusion models trained on a comprehensive data set of 23,928 image editing pairs, each paired with synchronized electroencephalography, EEG, functional near-infrared spectroscopy, photoplethysmography, and head motion signals that capture user intent. To effectively address the heterogeneity of these signals, Lung X integrates two key modules. The cross-scale state space module encodes informative modality-specific features. The dynamic gated fusion module further aggregates these features in a unified latent space, which is then aligned with edit semantics via fine-tuning on a diffusion transformer. Additionally, we pre-train the encoders using contrastive learning to align cognitive states with semantic intentions from embedded natural language. Extensive experiments demonstrate that Lung X achieves performance comparable to text-driven methods and outperforms them when neural signals are combined with speech. These results highlight the promise of neural-driven generative models. So it's interesting. They did not implant someone with a BCI. It looks like they attach the BCI to the forehead and the back of the head. Um, they have a bunch of transmitters and transmitters around. And the what's really happening is that we've compressed all of this technology, all these EEG, FNRIS, PPG, that you can wear it on your head, and it's cheap enough that you can actually do this for 23,000 times in order to get a data set. I don't know what the failure rates were. Maybe they did it, 50,000 or 100,000 times. It's also interesting because I think China has access. They have a lower cost of research, so they have access to a lot more ability to generate new data without relying, I think, as researchers in the U.S. often do. Researchers in the U.S. are kind of either you get free data or you engage scale AI and pay a ton of money to get specific data for the task that you want for a commercial application. So the Chinese guys, even in research, are able to spend small amounts of money in order to get like unique data sets. Also interesting, this was done by a Chinese group, but they're spread out over the National University of Singapore, Zhejiang University. This is the Saudi Arabian University, I think, or the UAE, Shanghai AI Lab. I say that the biggest resource, the biggest silent resource in AI is actually Chinese research talent, because they produce about 50% of the top research papers. Researchers are relatively unknown, unlike the U.S. researchers whose names that, like Andre Karpathy, that everyone knows about. Do you know who's the head of ByteDance, TikTok's, AI lab? No, we do not. I don't remember. So it's you know, if you have insight into that segment, you are far ahead. All right, let's shift segue here. Anish Acharya, he is at A16Z. Um, I spoke with Chris Dixon about what consumer founders should think about in the age of AI. All right. So, what does Chris Dixon think? Exponential forces drive the biggest outcomes in tech. Okay. Come for the network, stay for the tool. If the core network of the internet is already built, then the real leverage comes from dominating those external services. We're entering a renaissance of paid consumer software. For the first time, we are seeing consumers pay hundreds of dollars a month for software subscriptions. I don't know whether that's so true. I think as ChatGPT starts to monetize its free users, they started to collect affiliate fees on stuff that you buy through ChatGPT. I think it's likely that you will see free AI start to crop up a lot more. The fundamentals that are driving this right now are the same level of intelligence. Let's say you have 100 IQ. That 100 IQ AI is getting 10x cheaper every year. And so what that means is that at some point, someone will be able to serve it for free. Now, of course, the 110, 120, 150 IQ AI is more expensive at that point in time, and will decline in cost. But what happens, I think, is most consumers will not require 160 IQ AI. I think most consumers would be fairly okay with 120 IQ AI, which is cheap, free, loyal, and um, can communicate with more sophisticated AIs for certain tasks. And I think that means that we will see ad based monetization and affiliate fee monetization increase over time. That's my guess. The future of open source, of the open and web source. While foundation models are rarely fully open source, though many are open weight, it would still be a very positive outcome if open source trails the frontier closely while remaining good enough. Indeed, indeed. How to tell a movement from a fad? We may be in the skeuomorphic phase of AI while the native phase is yet to come. Absolutely. We are all plugging in AI into existing workflows. The new AI native workflows are not here yet. AI's idea maze is shaped by its emergent properties. Absolutely. Vibe coding may change how everyone interacts with software. I don't think a lot of people actually want to code. So I think a lot of people just want their jobs to be done. So I think most people will still not code. Most people will ask an AI to do something, and the AI will go out and do something. The AI may code for itself, but excuse me, I don't think we're going to see that much vibe coding. Matt Schumer, holy f, Oracle has gone up 50% in the last week. Larry Ellison is now the second richest man after Elon Musk. I think he's worth like 375 billion yesterday. Oracle shot up because they just disclosed that their order book increased by 300%. They have like, I don't know, like a 200, $300 billion order book that will go on for at least 3 years. They're fully booked for 3 years, basically. And now they have to figure out whether they can actually expand even more. I think they just signed a deal with Nebius, which is a cloud provider, like neo cloud provider. What's actually happening is that the demand for inference and training is so high in the US and globally that every provider who can secure stuff is trying to secure stuff. So if you have chips, you secure the chips. If you have talent, you secure the talent. If you have power, you secure the power. If you have land, you secure the land. And then you go out and you hunt for partners to do the other things that you don't have. And if you can put a deal together with all of those things, the chips, the talent, the power, and the land and infrastructure, then you can go out and raise, like, sign a deal with Oracle for $20 billion. Nebius signed up for a $17 billion deal. And then you can deploy that capital. You can go and borrow money, and you can go and deploy. And if you mess up, that's on you. The contracts are signed, the demand is there, but execution, that's up to you. Um, Imagine AI Labs. Um, Biggest and boldest update yet. You won't see resolutions like this. Yeah, it is good resolution. I gotta say, that is great resolution. I feel like image creation is going to come down to a large, free, and fun kind of category led by Google and ChatGPT and maybe Grok. I don't know, maybe Grok. Obviously I'm partial to Grok, but Grok is really not that good yet. Um, and Midjourney, and I think everyone else is going to have a tough time. It's very interesting for me that Midjourney signed a deal with Meta. Um, all right. Let's look at this video. Do we have sound? We don't have sound. I'm going to have to figure out the sound for this. Sink into the regeneration fluid and you descend into unfathomably deep sleep. AI art, Midjourney, ChatGPT. It's a Midjourney video of a woman um, in a tank full of water. This is one of those like therapies where you sensory deprivation therapy. That's what they call it. The Soviets used to use that as a torture method, and now you can experience it at a spa near you. All right, what about this? This is from it's an AI video. Let's see. All right, that was a little bit AI sloppy, but still inspiring, I guess. You could kind of see the skyline of several cities. I think there was a Kuala Lumpur in there. There's also, I think, a Shanghai and a Hong Kong. Kind of a mixed, you know, view of a bunch of skylines of a bunch of cities with, spaceships, anti-gravity spaceships with no visible signs of jets anywhere. Well, I guess we depend on sci-fi to inspire us. I guess that's inspiring. All right, let's go. Let's do a quick run through some of the research again. I'm going to switch off my X Pro. Um, all right. What if LLMs could get better without any data? Meta Superintelligence Lab, language self-play, reinforcement learning approach where models improve by competing against themselves in a game theoretic setup. Tested on Llama 3.23b. I'm sure Google has something running inside. Language self-play is basically these models debating themselves. Um, I do wonder what the value of models debating themselves is going to be. Let's see. Um, Meta Superintelligence Labs, UC Berkeley, View PDF. Our method leverages a game theoretic framework of self-play, massive data sets, nevertheless, offering potential of gaining superhuman breadth of skills. Silver and Sutton. So this is a Bob Sutton paper in there somewhere referred to. All right, how does this work? Generate an input for the language task that will be passed to another language agent. That is, your response to this prompt must be a valid input for the language task. The input can be easy, intermediate, hard, or simply noisy. It should stress test the agent or push it to think outside of the box. Note that in this run, you will generate only a single example. Below, between the tags start generation and end generation, you'll find a template that you must follow, etc., etc. Final remarks. Do not generate a response and output hints or leak information together with the input you generate. The input must not request actions that cannot be performed by a language agent. Stop generating immediately once your response fulfills the template. Your response must not include start generation and generation tags. Blah, 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 blah. And the challenger generated prompts. So this is improving prompting. The first, after 500 iterations, what is the typical difference in approach between a Montessori classroom and a traditional classroom setup when it comes to student-led project-based learning? 1,000 iterations. Follow these steps to build a functional submarine that can dive to a depth of 100 meters underwater while using only a scuba tank that holds 12 liters of air. The submarine must be able to withstand water pressure at that depth without collapsing and should surface automatically after 20 minutes. Follow the instructions to create a new programming language that is a combination of Python and Haskell with a unique syntax and semantics and can compile and run on a 64-bit x86 processor using only the standard library and without any external dependencies in under 1,000 characters, 1,500 iterations. So as the prompts iterate, they get more and more detailed, more definite instructions. You know, there was someone yesterday who was saying, well, you know, how are you going to tell a model what color you want a icon to be? Like yellow, less yellow, more yellow, beigeish yellow, like greenish yellow? And in the end, is it not easier just to use a hex code? And this is exactly that thing where if you want precision, perhaps you should use code. So are we going to end up back at code after all of this natural language stuff? We will see. Language self-play. NVIDIA just built a framework called SATlution, which can scale LLM-based code evolution from small kernels to full repositories, hundreds of files, tens of thousands of lines of C, C++. It's the first one that can do this. It is actually not the first one. It's maybe the first one published, but I know a bunch of people trying various versions of this in their labs. So Aaron Komatsuzaki, what does he have? RL Factory, a plug-and-play RL framework for LLM tool use. Async tool calls faster, 6.8 times throughput, decoupled training environment, low-cost setup. Flexible reward design, outperforms bigger models, QN. A plug-and-play RL framework. Okay. Make a 3-day trip plan for Beijing next week. And the AI goes first. I'll start with initial reasoning. The user needs a trip plan for next week. Tool calls. Okay. Interacts with the RL factory. I think now I have the necessary information as well as tickets. Hello, the travel plan designated for you is as follows. Round N. RL factory. Programs, models, agents. So the RL factory in between basically does what? I'm confused. Large language models exhibit strong advantages in basic reasoning, but face limitations in tasks that require interaction with the external environment. The model tool collaboration paradigm has become a key solution by allowing models to learn to call external tools to obtain environmental feedback to improve tasks performance, with multi-round tool calls being a typical form of such task. However, reinforcement learning in multi-round tool calls faces challenges in tool call stability, adaptability due to tool heterogeneity and interface issues. To help the industry better study the tool call problem of LLMs, we propose our factory, a plug-and-play reinforcement learning post-training framework tailored for LLM multi-round tool calls. Its core design includes an asynchronous tool call mechanism based on async I/O, which greatly improves time efficiency, a decoupled architecture that separates tool call training and training modules to reduce environment setup costs, and a diverse reward computation framework that supports rule-based model judgment and tool verification. They are publishing their scaffolding. Great. Thank you for publishing your scaffolding. Well done. All right. Parallel R1 towards parallel thinking via reinforcement learning. Paper of the day on on Hugging Face. All right. Parallel thinking has emerged as a novel approach for enhancing the reasoning capabilities of large language models by exploring multiple reasoning paths concurrently. However, such capabilities through training remains challenging as existing methods predominantly rely on supervised fine tuning over synthetic data, which encourages teacher forced imitation rather than exploration and generalization. Different from them, we propose Parallel R1, the first reinforcement learning framework that enables parallel thinking behaviors for complex real world reasoning tasks. Our framework employs a progressive curriculum that explicitly addresses the cold start problem in training parallel thinking or RL. We first use supervised fine tuning and prompt generated trajectories from easier tasks to instill the parallel thinking ability, then transition to RL to explore and generalize this skill on harder problems. Experiments on various math benchmarks show that parallel R1 successfully instills parallel thinking, leading to 8.4% accuracy improvements over sequential thinking model that trained directly on challenging tasks with RL. This is interesting. I think parallel thinking is probably still at its inception. Um, I think some more research is necessary, but it is interesting. Maybe this speeds up. Um, Google's Gemini recently credited success at the IMO in part to new capability, parallel thinking. This approach is exemplified by Figure 1 top, involves jointly conducting both parallel and sequential thinking. All right. So I see. So you break off into parallel thinking at some point in the problem, and then you return the results, and then you continue. Uh, yeah, I can see that. Um, I guess post Gemini saying that they have parallel thinking, everyone else has to work on figuring out how to do it as well. So, AK, all right. Staying in the sweet spot, responsive reasoning evolution by capability adaptive hint scaffolding. Let's see this. Staying in the sweet spot. All right. Reinforcement learning with verifiable rewards has achieved remarkable success enhancing the reasoning capabilities of large language models. However, existing RLVR methods often suffer from exploration inefficiency due to mismatches between the training data's difficulty and model capability. LLMs fail to discover viable reasoning paths when problems are overly difficult, while learning little new capability when problems are too simple. In this work, we formalize the impact of problem difficulty by quantifying the relationship between loss descent speed and rollout accuracy. Building on this analysis, we propose SEAL, a novel supervision aided RLVR framework that dynamically adjusts problem difficulty to stay within the high efficiency region. SEAL augments each training sample by appending a hint, part of a full solution after the original problem. Unlike previous hint based approaches, SEAL deliberately and adaptively adjusts the hint length for each problem to achieve an optimal difficulty. To determine the optimal hint length, SEAL employs a multi round rollout sampling strategy. In each round, it fits an item response theory model to the accuracy of hint pairs collected in preceding rounds to predict the required hint length for the next round. This instance level real-time difficulty adjustment aligns problem difficulty with the evolving model capability. I think this is interesting. I think this is helpful in reducing the amount of work that happens. In RL, probably it reduces the amount of compute used. But I wonder if it's that useful if you just 10x 100 times compute. It seems like more of efficiency gain rather than anything else for training. All right, how do you make retrieval systems tackle abstract reasoning, analogies, and multi-step inference, not just keyword matches? Document preprocessing cleans noise, LLM-driven query expansion, and this is another pipeline. So everyone is just posting their scaffoldings and pipelines, etc. Molo RAG, bootstrapping document understanding via multi-model logic retrieval. All right. RAG is probably the most important enterprise skill set right now. Document understanding is a foundational AI capability with broad applications, and document question answering .qa is a key evaluation task. Traditional methods convert the document into text for processing by large language models, but this process strips away critical multimodal information like figures. While large vision language models, LVLMs, address this limitation, their constrained input size makes multi-page document comprehension infeasible. Retrieval augmented generation methods mitigate this by selecting relevant pages, but they rely solely on semantic relevance, ignoring logical connections between pages and the query, which is essential for reasoning. To this end, we propose MoloRAG, a logic-aware retrieval framework for multimodal, multi-page document understanding. By constructing a page graph that captures contextual relationships between pages, a lightweight VLM performs graph traversal to retrieve relevant pages, including those with logical connections often overlooked. This approach combines semantic and logical relevance to deliver more accurate retrieval. After retrieval, the top K pages are fed into an arbitrary LVLMs for question answering. To enhance flexibility, MoloRAG offers two variants: a training-free solution for easy deployment and a fine-tuned version to improve logical relevance checking. Experiments on 4.QA datasets demonstrate average improvements of 9.68. So my question for this is, I think it's interesting. I guess you still use a form of, so in you're swapping the embeddings for a page graph, I guess, um, and you use the page graphs to define the relationships, and then you pull the top K pages, and then you allow the model to make sense of the top K pages in its prompt, and then which is normal RAG, and then you just do the RAG. So my question for this is, why not the agentic search paradigm that Claude seems to be using, which is just like, okay, if you have a textbook, look at the index or look at the table of contents, decide which of the contents are most relevant to you, dive into those contents, look in there, look at the chapter subheadings, and figure out which ones are most relevant, and then go read those relevant sections, and then come back. And I feel like that's actually a fairly logical way that I think humans look at large documents. And I think like the embeddings based search is almost, I would say, like a keyword search is better. Um, if you really need to know just a keyword. I guess it depends on what kind of question you're trying to answer. All right. And the last one, excited to share some recent work developing an AI model that doubles as scalable cognitive theory. Basic idea: when learning one task, pre-play other accessible tasks to learn many implicit goal-oriented predictive maps. You now have fast reactive behavior for many tasks later on. Um, okay. Uh, we show that this both improves um, on competing AI models and predict human behavior, increasing naturalistic experimental conditions. So this is about learning goal-oriented predictive maps, preemptive solution of future problems. We hypothesize that humans leverage experience on one task to preemptively learn solutions to other tasks that were accessible but not pursued. We formalize this idea as multitask preplay, a novel algorithm that replays experience on one task as a starting point for preplay counterfactual simulation of an accessible but unpursued task. Preplay is used to learn a predictive representation that can support fast adaptive task performance later on. I don't really see what's the difference between this and pre-populating the context window with a prior experience. You just pre-populating the context window, right? So you're like, okay, I cooked eggs today, and then tomorrow you're like, okay, I want to cook ham, and you pre-populate the context window with, hey, I cooked eggs this way before, and so then you know how to cook eggs. You're like, oh, okay, I know how to switch on the stove and how to turn it on and where the pots and pans are and where the salt is and blah 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 blah, right? So I don't know. It's are you not just pre-populating the context window? I don't know. Let's see. Okay. All right. And that kind of finishes up my morning review. Oh, Edwin Arbus. I'll be leaving OpenAI in a month after Dev Day. After more than a decade without a break, Stripe to OpenAI, I'm finally taking some time off. Oh, Edwin, we're so sad to see you go. Um, so Edwin was DevRel. I guess for the guys at OpenAI, they run really hard, they exhaust themselves, and they also make like a shitload of money. So I think Edwin would probably have made like, I don't know, 5 to 10 mil at this point, and it's time to leave. Oh well. Um, you know, one of the unfortunate things about uh, X is that the For You uh, you know timeline is just so trashy. It's just all of the uh, every all of rage bait the rage bait stuff and all of the stuff that that's just like very disconcerting. So there's, I don't know, there was there's this image of this woman being killed, and it's just heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. And just every single, every other post is about that, and it's just it's just so saddening. Very well. All right. So this has been AI in the AM. I'm gonna try and do this every single day. I basically do this already, but I do this without you know. This is AI in the AM, and I will try to do this every day. I basically do this already, but I do it on my own, and I don't talk. So this is a good moment for me to like talk it all out, and while I watch the research and read through the research. Um, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I think we're in the period before the next anthropic drop, which I hope will be significant. And so, if you are around, you can tune in on X, on LinkedIn, on Twitch. Am I on something on YouTube as well? I'm going to try to do this every day. 8:30 to 9:30, which is kind of like when my kids go off to school. All right, then. Cheers, and see you tomorrow.